Hello and welcome. My name is Shasta Roberts, and welcome to another week of my book club while we read my book, Stronger Than Your Excuses. So let's get started. This week we are reading excuse number 7. When we have sex, it's good. Let's go. Yes, I am going there. This is the chapter you will find out way too much about me. I wish I could skip talking about this chapter, but the events have shaped my life and my marriage. Sex is the most intimate and vulnerable part in a marriage. When you are naked in front of each other, you cannot fully hide. Your insecurities will show, and even with the lights off, we see everything through touch. In a marriage, where you are most vulnerable, you should be most secure. I am neither here nor there regarding sex before marriage. I do believe you should think about your actions and what consequences could happen. Be ready to accept those before you make a choice. With that said, I also say it in hindsight. I didn't think about any of that, and I just wanted to experience sex. Hence, why my first time having sex, I was 15 years old, and it was completely inconsequential. We were not even dating, and I don't remember his name. The experience was quick and to the point. I had never prior delved into why I felt like I needed to have the sexual experience and why I was so eager to lose my virginity at a young age. Maybe 15 is not young to lose your virginity. However, now that I am older and wiser, I think it is. As I have been writing this book, I have been forced to confront these excuses and really ransack through my emotions to find out if there are deeper meanings. When I lost my virginity, it wasn't because I wanted to have the experience. It was because I wanted to be accepted. When I was a kid, I got yelled at regularly and looked for attention in other ways. Another way to feel loved, since I did not feel loved at home. Not that I'm saying it's my family's fault. I did make my own choices. However, looking back on it all, I abused sex for my own personal emotional gain. After losing my virginity, I had sex with 2 more people in under 2 weeks. Yes, you connected the dots correctly. That is 3 people in a matter of weeks. It most likely would have continued if I hadn't established a friends with benefits relationship with the 4th guy. I had been crushing on him, and he finally asked me out on a group movie date. I knew he had a girlfriend who happened to be a classmate of mine. It really was supposed to be a group date, but it turned into everyone canceling and the 2 of us being alone at the movies. My thought process was, if I slept with him, he would leave his girlfriend for me. I knew he hadn't slept with my classmate yet, but he had lost his virginity before her. I wasn't a virgin anymore. Now I was cooler and in the know. I abused sex to try to change his mind and had sex with him that night. From the starting gate, we were never going to be boyfriend and girlfriend status. I was the girl who stole another girl's boyfriend. A friend with benefits relationship can only survive for so long, and eventually he went back to his girlfriend after he begged for forgiveness. He never knew I had fallen in love with him. You don't get to say it when you're friends with benefits relationship. There's an unspoken rule you must keep things bottled up inside. Someone always has more feelings for the other, and someone always gets their heart broken. My path down misusing sex was not started by him. However, it started conditioning me to undervalue the emotional aspect and signified the power of sex if I used it right. I looked at this scenario as how can I use sex in a comprehensible way as to change the infatuation of another. I should have looked at this scenario as sex cannot alter feelings on the basis of sex alone. We desire a deeper, meaningful connection with each other, and great sex doesn't offer that. It can add to what is already there, but it cannot create a significant connection for a foundation. I was heartbroken over the severance of the relationship, and I felt small and unworthy. I needed someone to pick me back up, and the right person at the right time came back into my life. A middle school boyfriend and I renewed our relationship. This time, I didn't abuse sex for the betterment of our relationship. Although we both had sex since the absence of our first relationship, we didn't necessarily rush into it with each other either. Our relationship lasted 3 years, and it showed me what a relationship should be. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was filled with true love in a healthy way. He was a good person and was ultimately my high school sweetheart. Toward the end of our relationship, we fought quite a bit. I was always quick to flee, and he was always content to let me. That last fight, I never looked back. I wanted someone who would never let me walk away, and he wasn't it. Reflecting on this relationship now, I see how it conditioned me to want to be put first. Although he never ran after me in an argument, he always made me his center of attention. It was never meant to last, though. I knew I was out of his league, and he did not have ambitions that attracted me. However, I can see we stayed together for so long because of where I was placed in his life. I was always first on his list, and sex was never an issue. I would say we were the most inventive to find a place together. In the car, on a backcountry road, down by the river, or while the parents were away. Although we had a lot of sex, our relationship did not revolve around sex, and that was a good feeling. But the time of our separation, I was less than a handful of months till graduation and 6 months away from moving to Portland for college. The timing could have not been better. I would be able to graduate and move without integrating a relationship. So when my stoner bad boy came into my life only a few weeks later, it couldn't have been more ideal situation. I met him during a hangout with friends and became aware he was on probation for his 3rd DUI and was on hold to partake in jail time. He was slotted for a couple months of jail for the DUI court sentence. Since the jail was overcrowded, the time was postponed for another month, which happened to be just over a month away. I was eager to find someone to help me move past my breakup, and he was just it. I wouldn't have to worry about leaving for college. We could have fun, and then he would do his jail time, and I would move. Just touching his lips made me melt. I fell in love with him the fastest. The problem is, I wasn't a bad girl or a stoner. I wouldn't say I was a good girl, but I never had any trouble with the law and never did drugs. Except for that one time in high school where this cute guy I was hanging out with had me try marijuana before school. And my friends still laugh to this day how crazy I was at school. That day, when I was only a freshman, made me realize how much I don't like drugs. I'm a control freak. You can't control anything on drugs. When I'm high, I'm the dumbest person you've met. Don't even try to have a conversation with me because my mind can't even run a mile an hour when it's usually doing a mile a minute. This all didn't matter with the bad boy. He was fine with me not participating in the drugs, and I got to participate in all the makeout sessions I wanted. I've only kissed 2 people in my life that have made me weak in the knees. Just kissing them. Mr. Bad Boy and my second boyfriend ever back in middle school. This relationship didn't last because as much of a bad boy he was, he never asked me to stay. I already had plans of moving away to college. I would have given it all up for him, and I even told him that. But he still never asked. At least someone had the head on their shoulders, and he broke up with me so I would leave for college. This is where my husband comes in. There was no one in between him and the bad boy. The bad boy was the reason I tried to stay clear of my husband. I knew I wasn't over him yet. As you already know, that's not what happened. And after becoming friends with benefits for a couple months, this relationship did turn into an official relationship. As you can imagine, the sex between my husband and I started out really good when we were just sleeping together. The orgasms and things he did in bed was unlike any sex I had ever experienced. I learned a lot about different things, and the lines I might have drawn as a hell no, I wouldn't try, quickly faded and nothing was off the table. Sex together was euphoric. Yes, it wasn't perfect. Making out was lacking, but nothing else was. The only problem is I thrive off a good makeout session. A kiss's excitement can last me all day. One little thing lacking doesn't destroy a relationship, though. After dating for 6 months, we moved into an apartment together. This was the first time I had ever lived with a boyfriend, although it was not his first time living with a girlfriend. This is the stage where boundaries are set. This is where you learn from each other's daily routines and nuances. This is where your relationship can turn into a shared dream. The truth, though, is we never had a relationship. Our relationship was built from our sexual connection to each other, not from the emotional connection to each other. Although I tried to learn his likes and dislikes and to get to know him on a deep personal level, we never actually got past shop talk. You know, the guarded talk you would say to your coworkers or people you didn't want to fully let into your life. Most of the people in my life, I only share my shop talk with. Well, at least until I opened up about my marriage and this book. But overall, there are still secrets I keep hidden for only my closest companions. After 10 years of marriage, we were still not honest with each other. We still had no idea how to open up to each other. Since we were unable to grow a close connection in our marriage outside the bedroom, our sex life quickly dwindled after we married. Let's be real, it dwindled before we married. But he checked off a lot of boxes, so it seemed like the smart choice to even get married. People talk about how sex decreases over time. So at the same time, I thought our lacking sex life was just a normal part of life. What was really going on was we didn't know each other outside the bedroom. So how could we have intimacy during sex? Casual sex is fun and exciting. But at the end of the day, you cannot continue to have fun and exciting sex if you don't become a part of each other. We don't need someone to complete us, but we need someone to be on our level. We need someone who knows our deepest, darkest secrets and loves us for them, not in spite of them. Without being vulnerable and unguarded with each other outside the bedroom, you cannot be secure inside the bedroom. For years, I have had a feeling there was some type of detachment around our sex life. There was an unknown void, and we were completely disconnected. For most of the years we've been together, our sex life has been just going through the motions. Never consistent and full of big gaps of sleeping in the same bed, but never touching each other for months. Months of me thinking he didn't love me. Months of thinking he wanted someone else. Months of me thinking he just didn't want to have sex with me. Only later did I learn there was indeed more happening during those months to get him by. I never in a million years thought he would cheat on me, so I never questioned. Most people think of cheating as a physical act of sex with someone else other than your spouse or whomever you are dating. The truth is, though, there are other ways to fulfill your needs that has nothing to do with physically sleeping with someone else. Finally, it all made sense to me. Finally, I was able to see he was satisfied another way. He didn't need me to satisfy him. I need and want to have real, unshielded intimacy with someone, not only while we're having sex, but just in overall life. Someone who wants only me and lets me fully into their life unguarded. I want to daydream about the one I love and dread our time apart. I want the flames inside me reignited, our love to burst my heart into flames every time I think about us. I know it is possible. I have seen it in friends' marriages. I know it is out there. What I didn't know is what we didn't have already when we married. I think we all overlook something when we marry someone, but I didn't want to see what was right in front of me. I kept being pulled away from my husband before we married. I never knew why, but we always ended up back together. Most likely because of the great sex. Now I know what was pulling me away. We never had a relationship. He was always guarded and wasn't willing to be vulnerable with me. When I decided to marry him, I thought to myself, no one is going to be perfect for anyone. A marriage is just two people who are similar enough to make each other happy. They are not the same person, and there are things that you are just going to have to deal with. My husband had most of the boxes checked. The boxes you make up in your head about who would make a good partner. What traits you want the person to have, whom you are going to spend the rest of your life with. He met all mine. Those traits, though, became my excuses of why I needed to stay. It doesn't matter how many boxes are checked that make the relationship or marriage seem like the smart choice. If you aren't in love, it will not last, no matter how amazing the sex is or was once upon a time. All right, that is another chapter this week. Thank you for joining me. Make sure that you give me a thumbs up and leave a comment so I know what you think. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you can get notified every week when I post a new chapter of the book. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you next week for the next chapter of my book club, my book, Stronger Than Your Excuses. Bye.